Hello and welcome to That's So Craven, your one-stop shop for all things Fulham. And it's official, there's only one team in Fulham. You Whites! Yes, that's right. Last night we smashed that horrible lot up the road, 2-1 at Craven Cottage. Couldn't things get any better? I'm not sure they can. I'm joined today by the Putney perspective himself. He's here we're going to milk this, Skippy, aren't we? We're going to milk this.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like I'm getting severe deja vu of when we from the Boxing Day game. I'm pretty sure I was on that pod as well, and it was just basically just keep mentioning the scoreline of Fulham 2, Chelsea 1.
Yes.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Sounds amazing. I think you mentioned in our group last night that's the first time you've actually seen us beat Chelsea live. It's my third time. I was at the game back at Craven Cottage and when Boa Morte scored, and I was at the game when Vinicius got the header. But my God, it just doesn't come often enough. So we've really got to celebrate it, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, to touch on that, for the Vinny game where he scored the winner, I was in New Zealand, so I was watching that on a bus on my way to do a bungee jump.
Wow.
And it was also the missus' birthday, and there's normally a rule which is no football on her birthday. So I had to like sneakily have my phone and just mid conversation just keep looking down, and then when Vinny scored that header, my cover was blown. Let's put it that way. But yeah, three wins in 3 years.
Oh, and then amazing. I had a similar story when we beat them at Stamford Bridge last year. It was at the Boxing Day, big dinner table, and I was secretly watching it on my phone. And when we scored that winner, I just started smashing the table and jumping around and gave half the table a fright. So you just got to be done, isn't it? You know, we fulfill our family obligations, but we still, we still keep an eye on things. But last night we were there. We experienced it all. We experienced 2 goals. VAR decisions. We experienced all of the carnage that went on, and ultimately the best team in West London got the win. And man, I think I just want to keep talking about it. This is probably going to be a long pod because we're just going to go into every single detail. Thanks to everyone, by the way, who's joined us in the live chat and has joined us on X and Facebook and YouTube. And just as usual, stick your comments in the comment section, and we'll do our best to answer those. And yeah, let's just kick off. Let's kick off with the game. I mean, Skibby, I look back at our predictions before the show and on our Discord group, and we both went for 1-1, I believe. So there's a little bit of skepticism, despite our good form, that we could get the win here. I just didn't feel confident. I feel that they always turn up against us, Chelsea. I don't know what it is. I think it's so rare an occasion that we beat them. I'm just never confident. Is that how you felt?
Yeah, I think that's definitely it. I think despite, everything that was going on off the field, when you look at that team on paper, they still have an absolutely stacked squad who can hurt you. Like, I think even like Pedro Neto, Delap is an absolute handful. He is an absolute tyrant. He's just a nasty little gremlin, but I mean, he's one of those where if he's playing for you, you absolutely love him. But playing against, he's just such a physical player. Cole Palmer obviously needs no introduction of just how quality he is. And you know what? That midfield, Enzo, Caicedo, they're just stacked. They're just so stacked. So I think, with the whole Maresca deal kicking off, Rosinia coming in, do you know what I'm going to add just quickly? Rosinia, we all saw the video of him celebrating the equaliser. So that is him blackballed for forever Fulham, ever. How to ruin your reputation in 3 seconds. But no, I think there's just enough about that Chelsea team. You always talk about like a new manager bounce, but it was a bit weird because they weren't changing the manager due to their performances. It was just due to off the field weird shit with their owners. But I mean, yeah, I could, especially last year where we gave them a great game. I believe it was 1-1 to the death, and then Pedro scores a last minute goal. That for me had the same kind of feeling going into this one of just they have enough quality about them. They can hurt you. And yeah, I'd have taken a draw all day long. But as the game unfolded, suddenly optimism came out. Really,
It certainly did come out, and yeah, it was just a good time was had by one and all. I like you said, I just felt that Chelsea always seemed to turn up. They treat it like a big game. Some of the other big clubs that come to Craven Cottage that we've got results again, like Arsenal and Liverpool. It's another. Okay, with Arsenal, it is a derby, but it's not a fierce derby. We don't have a big rivalry.
yeah.
But Chelsea, I think, take it seriously when they come to us, and they always seem to generally get something out of the game. So just didn't feel confident, and our winning run surely is going to come to an end at some point. So yeah, there was a little bit of nerves around the game. It was bizarre when I saw the starting lineup. I kind of suspected he'd keep the five at the back just because of the success we had against Liverpool, I suppose. I didn't foresee the change Lukic for Berger, Skibby. Did that surprise you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you sort of put Berger and Lukic side by side, you've got an absolute kind of warrior in Lukic, someone who's going to run around, take the yellows, hard hitting, hard tackles. Berger, who is more of your luxury player, picks the ball up, looks for the pass, kind of your deep lying playmaker, your quarterback type. And you would think in a midfield with Enzo and Casado, you would need that kind of Lukic player to rough him up a little bit, break him up. But I don't know. You know what? Credit to Marco. I think putting in a 6'5" centre mid in sort of Berger to sort of pick that ball and release the shackles.
Yes.
We've been crying out for releasing the shackles on Berger, and to have TC as that quarterback, as I just mentioned, sitting in front of that back four or back three to sort of spray those passes and get Berger forward, because I think Wilson summed it up perfectly in his interview post game, which was, when Berger is in full motion, he's really hard to stop because he is just so big, strong, and he's technically good on the ball. And it was the right decision. And I think it's something that we've been crying out for a long time, which is just let Berger go. Just let him, wind him up, put him out, and see what he can do. And you know what? That was one of the best performances he gave. So I'm really happy with that. And I think everything else, it was great to see Cess back on the bench. I mean, that's going to give a point where, Sessegnon can come in, give Robinson a bit of a rest where, we probably over-relied on Robinson given that Cess fell injured. But no, I think it was a great decision. I mean, what was your thoughts? Did you think that Lukic deserved to keep his place after Liverpool, or did you think that Berger deserved that shout?
No, I think you articulated it really well. I mean, before the game, I thought taking Lukic out was a bit of a gamble because, he's the tackler in the team, isn't he? Like, if you look at Berger's stats as a defensive shield, they're not particularly strong. He's not, known for great tackling and interceptions. He's more of a ball player. I've always thought he's a number 8 that's kind of been forced into this number 6 role. I don't think it's natural to him. And then when you see him alongside Kearney, you just kind of assume that he'd still be playing that role because Kearney was obviously used to play further up the pitch, and but Kearney's role in the last couple of games has been deeper. It has been a deep line playmaker. It's let Lukic run forward against Liverpool, and against Chelsea, just let, as you said, Berger be the 8 we've all thought he is, and he could carry the ball forward. He got an assist. He caused a lot of problems for Chelsea. The balance worked really, really well. So it was just another moment of genius from Mr. Silva, I think, in getting it right. So yeah, look, it was an interesting lineup. And looking at their lineup as well, I agree with you. I thought Delap was a massive handful. I heard some people say they didn't think he was particularly impressive last night, but I did. I thought he was a massive handful.
He bullied.
He did.
He really did bully Anderson.
It's not the first time.
No,
it's not the first
and that's
time.
not an easy feat either. He's a strong boy, Anderson. So he just really puts himself about. And part of me was thinking, he's that kind of, thorn in the side, number 9 that potentially Marco likes.
Oh yeah.
So it's a shame that when Ipswich went down that we couldn't pip him for that one. But money talks, I suppose.
No, I completely agree. He was a player that I would love to have got, but it always seemed that he was going to be out of reach. And you're right about him as well. He's kind of the player you want to have on your team, but you don't like as an opposition because he also goes down quite easily and winds the ref up. So he's got those kind of traits. But, generally, actually, Skibby, that was kind of one of the things I really noticed about Chelsea last night was how horrible they are. They really are. They're a horrible team to play against. They're in the ref's ear. They dive. Pedro Neto's an absolute nightmare. As good as he played, I thought as well. On the ball, running with the ball was excellent. Maybe his final product wasn't great, but running around with the ball, he's really kind of dangerous. But he just goes down and tries to get people booked. He's an horrible player. I don't know if you saw the Fulham Bone on X put that video up about Gusto when they were doing the penalty appeal and he was trying to kick up the penalty spot, just ahead of the penalty being given. That just sums Chelsea up. They're a horrible, horrible team. I think they've had the most red cards and bookings, since the start of last season out of any other team in the league. They're just
kings of the dark arts.
Bunch. They are. So it's hatred is justified.
First 20 minutes, though.
Yeah, first 20 minutes.
Without putting a completely awful image in everyone's head, I'm really sorry for this, but how puckered was your arsehole?
Oh,
it was a horrible watch. We couldn't get out of a half.
We couldn't. No, it was. We're under pressure. In fact, the whole night I was pretty tense, to be honest. Even aside from us scoring and creating the chances that we did, whenever Chelsea went forward, I felt nervous. Even when they had 10 men. But start of the game. It was, the big teams do tend to get their foot on the ball a bit and try and create. I think we limited them. They didn't have clear-cut chances. I don't think.
I think. What made me the most nervous was we were clearly trying to play it out from the back, and they were just hunting us down in packs, and it was just squeezing. That I think I don't have the stat for this, but I think if you look at the most touches by any player on the pitch in the first 20 minutes, I reckon Leno is up there for most touches because I don't know about you, but I just noticed that it would sort of go Anderson, Diop, Castagna, Diop, Kearney, Diop, Anderson, Leno, and it was just sort of that kind of switching around, and it just made me nervous. And there was a couple of times where I think Diop misplaced a pass to Anderson, and he got picked up by I think it was Pedro, and then I think there was also like an Anderson into Berger, which was a bit of a hospital pass, like really into trouble. And you were just thinking, we're really under the cosh, and I just thought, yes, Chelsea aren't attacking us, but they're containing us to in our own third, which just made me really nervous at that point.
Yeah, no, you're right. I also remember Leno giving Diop a bit of giving him the ball in a pretty difficult area.
Not the person you want to give to under pressure as well.
No, and I think what I had noticed in the game was that Enzo Fernandez was zeroing in on Tom Kearney whenever we had the ball at the back to try and stop him from playmaking. So they'd obviously done their homework a little bit there. As the game went on, he kind of, his discipline to that role kind of faded, but he started off the game by closing him down. And I think that just meant that we didn't really understand what our options were to play out. But having said that, we did manage to, at times break forward, create counter-attacking opportunities. And I suppose it leads us to the first big moment of the game, which was the offside goal. That came before the red card, right? I'm pretty sure it did, if I recall. Either way, let's talk about that.
Let's say it did.
Let's say it did. For the sake of this podcast.
I mean, it was really, again, really contained, really tight. And I think we were really trying to push that. I think Chelsea were quite smart into how we sort of play, which was fizzing a ball into to Jimenez and then let him get a touch off, lay off to somebody who can then get a shot at goal. But yeah, they were containing us quite well in that aspect. But no, it was an absolute trademark. Clearly something that Fulham work on, which was that fizz that ball into to Jimenez, lays it off to Wilson, which we've seen often this year, and plants it top bottom corner. It was a fantastic Wilson finish. And it was just one of those really unfortunate things where his flicked up foot was offside while he was running away from goal. I mean, tell me where he's, getting an advantage there, because the offside is to stop goal hanging.
Yeah.
So for him to be running away from goal, for his foot to be just past the defender as he's running away from said defender, I mean, I get it's offside in the letter of the law, but at the same time, is it offside? Similar to the West Ham one, the goal that was disallowed against Forest, if you saw that, which was striker way out on the left, player gets tackled, but it came off of Somerville, and they gave an offside, and that was a bit bizarre. So I'd say that this kind of falls into the same category, but it was a shame. That was kind of showing the intent, and that's where Fulham can hurt teams, especially teams like Liverpool and Chelsea, where you fizz that ball into Jimenez. He's strong enough. He's got a good enough touch to lay it off. And yeah, his work rate has just been phenomenal recently. So it was something that gave us a bit of hint of belief that something is possible and something could potentially materialize this evening.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm with you. Unfortunately it is offside, right? They've looked at it. He's come to play the ball, and he's come from an area in which his studs were offside. I just hate that rule, how close, that they measure offsides. It's just, I think there's rumors. I'm not sure if I saw it. I thought I saw it had been confirmed, but I'm not 100% sure it has, that Arsene Wenger's daylight rule may come into effect from next year. I know there's, some people don't like it. I personally do. I'm with you. I think offside was originally brought in to stop people goal hanging. It wasn't to stop people's toenails and things being offside. Let's get more goals back into the game by creating the daylight rule, where there has to be daylight between the players in order for an offside to be held, and there'll just be more goals in football, and we won't be arguing about semantics like Raul's, studs and Chukwueze's toenail and things like that, which is just ridiculous. So yes, it's offside, but it's just a frustrating rule for me, and it's a shame. If it was a great finish by our man in Fulham.
Finish.
Yeah. So I actually think it might have come after the red card, so we probably should move on to that.
We'll talk. I think the game did open up after the red card, so it does make sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, to touch on the red card, I guess from my point of view, we were just saying about how under the cosh we were, playing out from the back and bringing, basically, love it or hate it, this is why you do it. You're bringing Chelsea onto you. They're higher up the pitch. And then suddenly we get a goal kick from, I think it was a Chelsea corner where Tosin Adarabioyo missed it or whatever. Literally, Leno put the ball down, gone long.
Yeah.
Chelsea weren't expecting it. Suddenly there's a massive amount of space in behind. And suddenly you've got Wilson one-on-one with Cucurella. And that all comes from because we were fucking about with it at the back. So love it or hate it, that red card comes from that. But I mean, if you want anyone in that position on that pitch, I reckon Wilson is probably your man. He's got the pace to get away from Cucurella. He's got the know-how. He's an intelligent player, and he did everything absolutely to a T. If that was scripted, give him an Oscar, because that was a fantastic performance. Not saying that he dived, and I'm not saying that it was all, but I'm just saying play by play, everything he did was fantastic, which was the flight of the ball, roughing Cucurella, letting him know that he's there, getting him the other side of Cucurella was perfect as well. And then before you know it, because Wilson is goal side, Cucurella's then got an option. And because he was sort of holding him off with his arm, you can't really see on camera, but I was holding my arm out, but he kind of got his arm across Cucurella's chest here. So therefore, Cucurella's grabbed hold of him.
Yeah.
So he's basically instigated that contact. And then Cucurella has just pulled him down. Everything about that was just perfect. Very smart, very intelligent, and just fantastic play from Leno, from Wilson. And a red card after 25 minutes, I think it was.
Yeah, but a definite red card. And and you're right. I think Wilson was clever. I think it's still a red card. I think that
I'm not saying he dived or anything,
but he was pulled back ultimately by Cucurella. Now, the rules of the game are that even if contact starts outside the box, if it persists into the box, it's a penalty. Skippy, why were those rules not followed? Can you explain that?
No idea. I mean, I I was a defender playing when I was younger, so I'm always, if it starts outside the box, then it's not a penalty. But
Mm.
I think you're quite right, and I think the fact that he does really well to stay on his feet and then get into the box, it should be a penalty all day long. And I think that there's just inconsistencies that we just need to get used to because we're Fulham. And I think when you're playing against the likes of Chelsea or Liverpool and it goes to VAR, there is going to be an element of a badge check. So if there's something as obvious as pulling a player in a dogso opportunity, like the goal scoring opportunity, so dogso, then it has to be a red card. There's no kind of
No.
doubt about it. But they can't give you the penalty as well because that would just really piss off the suits in the Premier League. So therefore, you've got to give it as, oh yeah, it was outside the box. Don't worry, we've checked it. Just believe us.
Yeah, they checked it, but they've checked it incorrectly. And it's interesting. It raised DJ Welly in our Discord group. Details of how to join, by the way, are in the pod description. But DJ Welly picked up on a number of incidents this year now that we've had the VAR decisions go against us. Even that Wally Richard Keys posted earlier today, why do these decisions keep going against Fulham? So I'm glad it's not just Fulham fans noticing it, but there's a number of decisions here, Skibby, I'm going to run through really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You've obviously got last night where the rules weren't followed, because if they were, it would have been a penalty. You've got Liverpool with the offside goal and the shambles that they made of that one. What frame selection they used, etc., etc. But regardless, he was clearly offside. The eye could see, and bizarre that wasn't given. You've got earlier in the season, you've got Josh King when he had that shot against Villa, that the handball one stopped the ball going in the net. We've got the Chelsea one in the home game, and thank God we've had some vindication for that last night with the win, when Josh King's goal was disallowed. We had Man United's goal against us at home when Bassi was pushed from the corner. And actually the penalty, even still in that game that they got, there was, arguably other fouls going on like them at the same time. And then there was also, as I recall, Josh King at the start of the season against Brighton. Number of decisions that aren't really that difficult that have gone against us. And as well as this season has become, I'm not going to say gone, I'm going to say it's become, because all of a sudden in the last month, it's just gone from being pretty poor to amazing. It could have been even better. We could be in the Champions League places if some of these decisions had been given.
Yeah, and I think the key point there is some of those teams that, where it's not coming or going our way, they are part of the big six. You've got your Man United in there, the Chelsea's, Liverpool's. You can't touch them. I mean, would I include Villa in there because but that would disrupt the hierarchy, because if they win the title, then then that will upset everyone as well. So the Villa one, I can see why, because the player wasn't looking at the ball, he was diving, and his hand was behind him, so that one's not as obvious as the others. But yeah, for me, it's just, people can tell me there isn't a big six priority or a bias, but it's just the evidence is there. You can't discount it, and I think it's just getting to a point now where it's just boring. It's just predicted. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and sour a 2-1 win over Chelsea because we didn't get a penalty, but at the same time, it's just glaringly obvious, and it's just glaringly obvious to everyone, which is annoying.
I don't think it's by any means the refs are out to get us specifically. I do think, however, there is an unconscious bias, with the referees that, when it comes to the big clubs and decisions. And also, I think the opposition players of the big six put a lot more pressure on the refs than the mid-table clubs do. And they fall for it. I think we saw it last night on a few occasions. A few bookings that we picked up last night were for pretty innocuous, fouls that were given purely because of the reaction of the Chelsea players. So it's just unfortunate that you don't get that consistency between the top clubs and the mid-table teams. But it feels like it's gone, even more against us than normal this year. It's become quite ridiculous, really. And the fact it's happened 2 games in a row, even more disappointing. But let's move on to better things. I think, as I'd said earlier, I think the Wilson disallowed goal happened right after that. And after that, we kind of, the half just kind of fizzled out. It was kind of glaringly obvious to most people that we could make a change at half time and be a bit more attacking, because did we need to play 5 at the back and, against a team with 10 men? So pretty obvious one for you, Kevin, coming on for, well, actually it was Cuenca. Yeah, I guess.
It was Cuenca because he picked up a really soft booking right at the end of the half, where, and this is real credit to Cuenca, by the way. Cole Palmer, every time he got the ball, Cuenca was all over him like a rash. Or even Robinson as well. But there was just a moment where he was too physical. Cole Palmer just goes down and he grabs the ball. Should have been a yellow, by the way. Yeah. He just grabbed the ball. I mean, a goalkeeper does that outside of his box. He gets a yellow card. So why does Cole Palmer get away with it? But anyway, that was just letting Cole Palmer know what kind of game he's in for. And literally every time Cuenca went near him, he would just go to ground. And I just thought, And then I think he kind of tries to muscle Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer just falls over and the ref gives a foul. And then suddenly the swarm of blue around him. And then he goes, oh, yeah, sorry. And then gives him a yellow for no reason at all, other than pressure. And unfortunately, that means that, he cut the game plans out the window, because Cole Palmer is a tricky customer, as we know. Therefore, that kind of puts Cuenca at risk. So, I would have, if Cuenca wasn't on a yellow, then it was obvious for me that, bringing on Kevin for Diop would have been the obvious one. And like Claire said, Diop was playing very well. And I completely agree with that. But I just think that a left-footed centre-back and Cuenca being one of our best players at the moment just seemed the most suitable tactical decision. But obviously with Cuenca picking up that yellow, then it meant that the Diop went off.
Yeah, sensible.
The other way around.
Just sensible, because Chelsea were desperate to try and get the referee to even things up.
Oh my word! That first half, wasn't it? Casado tried to say that
rolling around. Yeah,
Diop stood on him and stamped on him. Somebody also tried to claim that Berger kicked them in the stomach. Oh my word! It got embarrassing towards the end of the half. It really did.
Yeah, it was awful. But they were desperate. So to take off a player on a booking, I got it. And Kevin was introduced to give us a bit more attacking front. And second half, it wasn't until the 60th minute we scored. It took a little bit of time. And I remember Chelsea having a few kind of half chances in that period too. But I want to skip straight to the goal. And I think at the start of this show, you were talking about Berger and, the shackles were off. He was allowed to get forward. Just, that's what he's got that in his locker. Fantastic eye to see the run from Raul Jimenez. And to be fair, it's an absolutely fantastic header from Raul to get it low, in front of his man and to beat Sanchez at that side. I think it was just a fantastic strike. We've got a Chelsea fan coming in, so
Ashish
jumped into the chat.
Have it up, your son.
Oh God,
I don't think I've ever logged in. CFC saying we're lucky bastards. There you go.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever logged into an opposition fans podcast after we've lost, just to kind of pile on the misery. But these suicidal Chelsea fans have come in. Well, welcome. Anyway,
enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show. So anyway, great header from Raul Jimenez from a great ball.
World class.
Raul, by the way, just fantastic. Again, like energy last night was unbelievable. Of course, was a big part of the offside goal in the first half. And second half, just his work rate again, just really, really, really good. Really, really impressive. Is that 4 goal involvements in the last 4 games? He's really turned the corner with that. That's 4 goals for the season now. And he needs to keep adding to that, of course, because it's the while until Muniz is back. But all-round play has never really been a problem. But topping it off with goals now, that's really helping us. Yeah, really deserved his goal, I thought. So
Fantastic.
fair play. You know,
But there, I think that the burger cross, as you say, sort of picks the ball up on the right hand side, and you know, I remember seeing a YouTube video from last season where Berger just pings a free kick in the top corner. Like he's got it in his locker to pick out a decent ball, even a dead ball. But it's just the way that he just picks this up, looks up, and he sees that Raul starts making that run in front of Chalobah, and he
yes,
just floats it in perfectly. Great movement from Raul, as you said. Bottom corner makes it harder for the goalkeeper to reach, and it's just an outstanding goal. Almost,
yeah,
I want to say a real striker's a striker on the top of the game. That was like almost like a Haaland type finish, getting the other side of your man, plonking a head on it to the bottom corner. Great goal, great goal.
yeah,
And like you say, his work rate is just really upped, and I've noticed something about him where he's not doing his stupid back heels anymore. He's getting hold of the ball. He's flicking it more usefully than actually doing like a back heel or some kind of flare flick. And that's just helping the team much better in holding the ball, picking out the right pass. And he's just doing everything right at the moment. And if you're a Wolves fan, you've got to be seething that you're where you are in the league, and you shipped Raul Jimenez because you thought he was done for 5 million or whatever it was. And I think he's got 25 goals in sort of 70 games for Fulham, which is not a bad return in terms of as Premier League go. And not to mention he's had a bit of fitness issues and injuries, but when we first signed him, and not to mention last season as well. It's a fantastic return. And I mean, people are going to start laughing about it, but you've got to start thinking about contract extension for him because he's playing very well. At the moment, if Muniz was fit, would Muniz get in ahead of him? Probably not, because of just his work rate and what he's doing on the pitch. And like you say, 4 goal involvements in 4 games. It's a fantastic return from a striker. And you're seeing that he's dropping in deep. He's getting Wilson in behind him. And that is kind of weirdly reminding me of like the Zamora Gira era. Gira era, where, you know, they just know where each other's going to be, and they just seems to be laying it off to Wilson in those fantastic areas. And Wilson's sort of goal contributions have basically increased, and it's mainly come from Raul's work rate and where he is on the pitch. And I don't think that can be sniffed at. I think it's now given us a bit of a headache in terms of recruitment of, you know, is Raul actually probably got another year in him to help us out going forward? Possibly.
Possibly. I mean, the problem is, of course, will be wages. And it looks like we're in the market for a striker. You know, are we going to pay Raul 100k a week, you know, next season with SCR rules in, with 2 other strikers on the books? I suppose if the deal makes sense, then possibly, but he would have to take a wage cut. Who knows? It'd be interesting to see. But the good thing is he's added kind of goal contributions to his game in the last month, which was missing before. And that was a frustration I had. It was like, it's all very well doing a lot of good work in the middle of the pitch, but I felt like he wasn't really even getting chances in the attacking areas. But now he is. You know, then you got to give him credit. He's doing a fantastic job for us currently. So, you know, long may that to continue, particularly until Muniz is back to give us a hand. Yeah, great to go 1-0 up. They had a really good chance right after that. Fantastic dummy, I think, from Palmer set Delap through onto goal. In fact, before we talk about that incident, our intensity after that goal just seemed to disappear. We just seemed to drop off and fall back. It was really, really bizarre. I haven't seen that in a while. You know, Fulham kind of fall back like that after scoring. I thought we would go for the jugular. You know, they've got 10 men. We're 1-0 up. It's a bit disappointed, and it felt really tense in the stadium. You could see that Chelsea were coming into the game. They had a number of corners. You know, look, if you look at these stats here, they had 11 corners in the game to our 2. The number of corners in that period. But yeah, big chance for Delap. Great dummy from Palmer. Through to Delap. He's running through on goal. Leno comes out, and as Leno's been doing lately, makes a great block, and Timmy Castagna manages to clear it.
I think
And
it was
then
Diop,
Delap.
wasn't it?
Was it Diop? It could have been Diop. Yeah,
Big
yeah.
header,
I'll
yeah.
give you that. Yeah, and then Delap decided to roll on the floor to see if there was a penalty
Because
opportunity.
Diop need him in the head.
Yeah, I'm
in
sure
true
he
Diop
did.
fashion.
Yeah. So really good chance, but I just thought I'd shout that out because Leno's been really dependable, in recent games, and another big save from him to keep things level at that time. And then they concede, we concede from a corner. It's a bit unfortunate. I think it comes off Robinson, doesn't it? For the corner, the header.
He flicks it onto the post, doesn't he?
Comes off the post and just lands right at D-Lap, and he just finishes it. At the time, I remember saying that's been coming. Unfortunately,
their corners,
were
ruthless. They kept dropping it right on Leno, and they had a few chances before that. I think Berger actually cleared one off the line, didn't he?
That's right.
In the first half, where similar, like they hit the bar and then it just fell to, I think it was to Santos, and he just cleared it off the line. So yeah, I think every time they got a corner, I was worried.
Yeah. So it was frustrating that we let them back into the game like that. But then the momentum changed again. I think we stepped up a gear, and we had a few half chances, if I recall. But then all of a sudden, Mr. Harry Wilson, the man of the hour, the man of the moment, the guy who's just on the best form, I think, of his career. He just looks such a threat every game. And with that wand of a left foot. However, I think this was a right-footed goal. He did a bit of a flick over the defender's head. He managed to rifle it home with a bit of a deflection, found the bottom corner and sent the Hammersmith end and the rest of the ground into absolute pandemonium. Great moment, Skibby, wasn't it?
It was a fantastic moment. And it was one of those things where I would have been disappointed with a 1-1 draw, I think. Sort of given the circumstances of, Chelsea being down to 10 men for large periods of the game. And I think just before the goal for Chelsea, you could see that there was a bit of, fatigue setting in. I think when Cole Palmer did that dummy, you were watching Kearney and Berger try and get back. And, if Kearney was the one who was supposed to be a bit further back, they just weren't getting back quick enough. So even before the goal went in, you kind of needed Lukic, I think, at that moment to sort of come in for TC. But unfortunately, it didn't happen in the right time, and therefore we did concede. Yeah. But hey-ho, it's one of those things. But I think, I think with Wilson's goal, it was his first ever with his right foot, apparently. He's that left-footed. It was his first with his right foot. So,
mad.
I mean, all credit to him. Like, add more, got more in his locker. Hopefully, sort of headers, right foot, left foot. He's got it all, the kids. So hopefully we see a bit more of his right foot. But as long as they go in, I don't really care. But that's the main thing. But no, it was one of those things where, it's a shame that we had to go to 1-1. To pick up our intensity again. But with that, Kearney and Kevin and Sessegnon, I don't know how many times they doubled up on the right back. It was countless, but the weight of the pass from whether it was Kevin or Sessegnon, just down that line to cut it back was just perfection every time. It was just about enough just to keep it away from the Chelsea defender, but not to go out of play and just allow them to have that first time cross. It happened probably on about 4 or 5 occasions, and that was quite exciting. I'm quite excited to see a bit more of that Kevin partnership, and even if he can do that with Robinson as well, because Robinson, we know, loves to get down that left-hand side.
Sure.
The weight of the pass was perfect, but no, it was coming. I felt like the goal was coming. And so, for it to go 2-1, like you say, it was magical. Like I said, first time that I could actually see a chance where we might actually beat Chelsea with me in the ground was always going to be a big moment. But But no, other than that, I mean, I would have loved to have seen a third, but I think after sort of going 2-1, it felt pretty comfortable at that point. But yeah, like you say, you can't beat the fact that you go 2-1 up against Chelsea. It's just a great, great feeling.
Oh, it's an amazing feeling. And yeah, look, as you said, I think Lukic probably could have come on a bit earlier, might have helped them, switching momentum a bit earlier. But, after they scored and he came on and then Cesc came on for Robinson, obviously I thought he would come on in the wing if Cesc came on. But he came on for Robinson to give him a rest. And to be fair, Robinson maybe was, a little bit below his par, which is very high standards. It wasn't a bad game by any means, but maybe a little bit below par and maybe starting to tire a little. And Cesc gave us this whole new lease of life down the left. He was really attacking. And as Claire said, and you highlighted, their link-up play was excellent. I think Kevin's performances over the last 2 or 3 games off the bench have been much improved. And he was really unlucky not to get that goal. He had that run through the middle and a fantastic shot that just grazed the side net. And I thought it was in, I must admit. Great effort. I would have loved that to go in. I'm desperate for the guy to get off the mark. But I am just generally pleased that we're starting to see a bit more from him.
Yeah, and I think with that, we're seeing a bit more of a work rate. I think that maybe he just had an off game against West Ham where he just didn't seem to be at the races, but it seems to be coming together for him. It does seem to be, there is talent there. It's just unlocking that talent. But like you say, when you look at, we had a great example of an experienced Premier League winger in Pedro Neto. And you could just see that there was levels above between Kevin and Neto. But yeah, he's just a fantastic player.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I felt tense right up to the last minutes of the game. I was delighted when the final whistle went. It felt like the clock was going backwards during extra time, but we held out. We had we were talking before we went live about the corner that we had at the end and Kevin's flick, his Neymar. I don't know what they call that flick. I think it's got a name. I don't know what it is.
Rainbow flick.
Rainbow flick. Yeah, sorry, I'm not down with the kids like Skibby, but the rainbow flick. He put it over a few players and went down. And I think Skibby was saying if they went on to score from that, he'd come under some criticism. But I'm kind of glad he feels confident that he can express himself like that. And he's a Brazilian with flair. You want him to show it sometimes. Is my view. So the fact that it didn't end in disaster, I'm okay with it. But all in all, just an amazing feeling. A credible run by Fulham. That's us unbeaten since that Palace game at the start of December. So that's 6 games, won 4, drew 2. Jesus, that Palace game, when we lost to them, they were 9 points ahead of us. And we were, I think, 4th bottom. So to acquire so many points through December with a squad that's depleted, we all know the AFCON boys are away. We know that we've had injuries and they're mounting, King and Tete recently added to what was Cesc and Mooney's. Obviously, Cesc is back now, but we're still depleted. And the boys have just kind of pulled it together and, ground out some fantastic wins. I didn't expect 4 points from Liverpool and Chelsea.
No.
But it's put us in a position where now we've got 31 points and we're as good. And I know it sounds, maybe premature to say this, but we're as good as safe really now. It's very difficult to see how any of the bottom 3 are going to catch us now. So really, we should be looking up. We should be looking up that table and where can we finish this year? And it's exciting, Skibby. It's really exciting. Ninth league level with those Muppets up the road after last night. There's a few more Muppets up the road who are ahead of us still, but I'm sure we'll catch them up too. But we're in the mix for the European places all of a sudden. So, I mean, where does the credit go, Skibby? Does it go to Marco through December? Does it go to the players? Is it a mixture?
It's got to be the players.
Yeah,
it's got to be the players. I mean, Marco, he set us up in a certain way, which is all credit to a manager, and I think that's what a manager does. But I think where we've really kind of stepped up is without Iwobi, where were those goals going to come from? He was our main outlet. He was our main creator. We just didn't have anyone really who could sort of do what Iwobi does. And that kind of we've shared that responsibility around. I think TC's come in not after not really having much of a look in, and he's played very well. Harrison Reed has come from absolutely nowhere to score an absolute worldie, and I think Wilson has really stepped up and become that real main man. I think I can't remember when Iwobi was here that I would think that Wilson was that undroppable. But it's got to a point where Wilson has stepped up, thinking if anything's going to happen, it's going to come through me. I think Raul has absolutely stepped up. Like you say, his work rate, he stopped doing the flicks, and he's just getting amongst it. And I think where Raul is kind of doing that job that Bobby Firmino used to do, which was come really deep, get a flick on out to sort of the wingers in Salah and co. He's just flicking round the corner to Wilson, getting him in front of goal. Smith Rowe really has stepped up. And I think, again, there's got to be... Oh, Colm beat me to it. But yeah, ESR has really stepped up. But I think there is an element of man management of Marco of the squad. But I do think that, the team have all kind of pulled up their socks, known that these players are missing and taken their chances. Like, Cuenca wouldn't normally get a chance with Bassi in the squad. He's really made a statement. I can't see him being dropped when Bassi is back. Love Bassi, but I just think that Cuenca is, the calm head on the shoulders rather than the erratic, athletic, strong chaos.
Agreed.
So, and then Kevin sort of coming onto his own a little bit. So does that mean that Chukwueze will automatically come back in? Possibly not. I mean, Chukwueze also hasn't had a lot of game time when he's been out in AFCON as well. He's been primarily benched. So is he going to be match sharp when he comes back? Possibly not. Iwobi's played non-stop. So is Bassi. Therefore, is he going to be absolutely shattered and need a rest? Possibly. So it's just got to a point that, I just think that the players themselves have really stepped up, especially Diop. Do you know what? One of these takes that I've got, unpopular opinion, but I think that if Diop was they call it the Barclays era, but if he was like, around when, it was Vidic, Ferdinand, Terry, and all that lot, he would probably be one of the best centre-backs in the world, just because he's so no-nonsense, he's so strong, and he's so good at just getting in the way. It's when you start asking him to play around at the back, he just seems to mess it up. But when he's no nonsense, he is actually a solid centre back. It's just, he just doesn't quite fit the call it the new gen of defending,
Modern era.
which is just a shame. But I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's a squad, or do you think it's all credit to Marco? I know where you're going.
It's a mixture. I think it's a real mixture. I think Marco's managed the team really well, and kept the vibe together. I can't remember who mentioned that in the comments, but I think it might have been a mixture of Jim 2481 and Claire. But he's kept the squad vibe high. I don't think we've particularly missed the AFCON guys. I think, and as you said, players have come in and stepped up. And I think we're riding a bit of momentum. I think there's confidence there. And Marco's little adjustments to the team, I think, are working. We spoke earlier about Berge coming in for Lukic. It's not a change many would have foreseen, but it worked really well. So, I think a lot of credit, actually, for basically everyone involved in how we've managed this period and throughout the amount of fixtures that we've had. And it's just transformed our season from being one of where there was quite a lot of discontent, misery. People were saying, first bad year we've had under Marco. All of a sudden now, we're ahead of last year on points. Match day 21 last year, we had 30 points. We've got 31 now. So actually, it's a better season than last year just because of what's happened over this period. So, and I think what's different is to last year, we've got loads of people coming back. We can refresh the squad again. We can take our time now, reintegrating the AFCON guys, because Kenny and Cuenca and Kevin to an extent are all stepping up. We don't have to rush these guys back into the team. They can be integrated as and when we need them. When Muniz comes back, it'll be a welcome relief. We can bring him in. You'd expect Raul to start tiring if he continues to play this amount of games. He's going to come in at the right time. King will bring energy. We're probably going to sign some players. There's been a lot of pressure to sign players this window, basically provided by Marco. But the club seem to be, trying to make inquiries in the transfer market and trying to, find players that we can acquire. So there'll be extra players even coming in. So it's exciting. We can really, rotate this team, rotate the squad, and kick on. So good. And I guess in a way that takes us to this weekend's game. On our slides, it's the Leeds game, but I thought we'll save that for now, because in between the Leeds game, we've got the FA Cup, we've got Middlesbrough at home. Now that we've got points on the board, Skibby, I know there's players that have played a lot of minutes, but should we take this seriously and try and go on a cup run here? Because, okay, the squad's depleted, but in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to have players back. So should we really actually put up quite a strong team and try and get over the line on Saturday rather than rotate too much and gamble?
I think so. I think that, like you say, we've got the AFCON guys coming back. We've got potentially Muniz coming back in February. I think, given where I think Borough are doing quite well, I believe. They were, to be honest, I haven't checked the championship table in a while, but I believe it was sort of second in the league. They were just behind Coventry. I'm just going to double check that as I'm talking. But so, I mean, does that mean, yeah, they're still second? So does that mean that it's a step too far for Kusiasare? Probably. But I would still give him a shout, just because give Raul a rest, just given the amount of games that he's played over the sort of the festive period. But that being said, Borough are still chasing down Coventry to get the title, which I'm sure that they would love to do. So are they going to prioritise the FA Cup against a Premier League opposition? Probably not. But at the same time, we've seen this before, that if we were to fully rotate, put Harrison Reed, Kearney starting. I know Kearney started last game, but if you were to start Harrison Reed, Kearney, Diop, Cuenca, Cess is back now, Robinson. I mean, you could put Sessegnon on the wing. So suddenly, we're even putting in our second team. They're actually still a very strong team. But for me, I think we would have to be clever about it. I think, I probably would start Raul and then bring JK and just maybe after about the hour mark, 55 minutes, maybe even half time, give him a swap. But I just think that we could definitely go on to a
ahead
run.
And then
you're saying get ahead.
Yeah.
But I think he's the only risky one, I would say. But, Sessegnon on the wing. I mean, Kevin, I would love to get Kevin a start just to try and build his confidence a bit more. But like you say, we could potentially give Harrison Reed, TC, Cuenca, Diop, give Anderson a rest, bring in Lecomte. I think that's fine. We just might struggle at the right back position, so we'd have to probably focus on Castagna and manage him a bit better. But I think that even with the rotation, which I think we will do, we can still get past this Middlesbrough team. I think they're going to be, high on confidence given where they are in the league, but definitely something that isn't too strong for even our second 11, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, look, they're high flying in a championship. They're obviously a good side. They've got a good midfielder called Hayden Hackney. Wouldn't mind if he stayed at Craven Cottage post Saturday. I don't think he will, but anyway, so I think they will be a test. As you said, it's hard to see how they're going to approach the game. Are they going to go for it, and ride the momentum that they've got, or are they going to, switch it up a bit and focus on the league? And I'm hoping it's the latter, and because that obviously plays into our hands. And I think you're right. I think we'll move back to a 4 at the back for this one. I can't see us being as conservative. I think that was circumstantial because of the opposition that we were playing. I don't think we'll need to be as conservative in this one. I think we can afford to be a bit more expansive. So yeah, look, fingers crossed we don't do a complete rotation and take too many gambles, because I think now that we've got those points on the board in the league and we've got such a all these players coming back, it actually wouldn't be a bad thing to have extra games as well, just to kind of give everyone run out. So I'd be a bit disappointed if we don't do the business on Saturday and have another go at the FA Cup, because the cup runs have been really fun and exciting the last few years. And unless you are down in the relegation battle, which I don't think we are at all now, you should go for it, because you just never know. Look at Crystal Palace last year. So let's go for it. We got a few questions, Skivvy, I think we should run through before we close, but some of them we've answered. We got one in the Discord group from SES, and he said, was anyone else a bit disappointed that we didn't smash them 3-4-0 yesterday? We could have got the second before their equaliser. I felt it could have been on. Yes, I suppose. I mean, I'm just delighted with the result.
I'd rather the 3 points.
Yeah, the 3 points is most important. I'm delighted with the result. I think, of course, it'd be amazing. It's an opportunity when the opposition are 10 men to, get at them and try and really hammer them. But we didn't get the rub of the green with the penalty decision in the first half. We had the goal chalked off. It wasn't through lack of trying that we didn't get, more goals yesterday, and we just didn't get the rub of the green. So I was, as I said earlier, a bit disappointed that we dropped off after scoring that first goal and the intensity fell away. But we don't beat Chelsea very often, so any win is a good win, and that's how I view it.
But, no, absolutely bang on.
We've also had one from Mr. Levy, the Motus, as Mark's been calling him on other podcasts. He asked about, with 3 points off Champions League, is this a period to invest, try and push on, really go for a European place? Should we really, should the club really be going all out now to try and improve the squad this window, kick on and, try and push us into those European places? What's your view on that, Skiddy?
As disappointing as it will probably sound to most people and pessimistic, I would say no, because we've seen that a lot of clubs that are in Europe this year are struggling. So Palace and Forest are really struggling, just because of the amount of games. You need to almost have 2 11s. If we were to get into Europe, therefore, we would have to replace Kearney, Reed, Adama, potentially Raul, given the contract situation. But when I say you got to replace those 4 players, you haven't just got to replace those 4 players with, squad players. You got to replace them with first teamers, therefore making, Lukic, potentially even Wilson, or Chukwueze or Kevin becomes, an impact sub. You just want to have that kind of headache for Marco. But I just think that that's going to be too expensive, because, we're looking at a striker to potentially replace Raul. You're looking at 40 million. We're looking at a centre mid to come in to replace Kearney. You're going to be looking at about 30 million. You want a world-class winger to come in. You're going to be looking at another 35 to 40 million. So before you know it, you spend 100 million in January just to make that final push. I just think it's just too much change too quickly. I would personally prefer that we use this window to basically to better the squad and increase the quality of the squad. But I wouldn't want to push. I mean, Conference League I'd take, because I think that'd be more manageable. But I think Europa League would be a step too far for us at this point. And I think that would just be, a goal for next year, if that makes sense. So invest in the squad to bring them up to a comfortable standard of, we can really give a cup run a go, or get us that solidify that top seven for next season. But I just think that going into Europe now would be too much change too quickly and too much risk that could hinder the balance of this current squad.
Let's not forget as well that the new financial fair play rules, so everyone will be allowed to spend 85% of revenue on the squad. It's 70% if you're in Europe.
Yeah.
And only really the Champions League is where the money's at. The Europa League at the later stages, you can earn, but the Conference League, you don't really get much of an uplift in revenue. So all you've got is the negative is that you've got less to spend on your squad. So it's kind of careful what you wish for in a little bit. I think we'd all love to go on a European tour. Don't get me wrong. I think it would be really exciting, but it's also this nervousness around, how would we have coped this season if we'd made Europe last year, given all the injuries we've had and everything like that, given the run that we had up till December. It could have been, it would have been pretty damaging, I think, to our league form. So I think it's just, slow build, I think is rather than especially with this SCR year coming up, I'd rather just see how other clubs that qualify do and manage that over the summer and over next season while we continue our build. These are the good times. We're in a position, I think, where a club our size are doing really well, and we should enjoy this, and we should look at the domestic cups to push on. But I wouldn't want European to become at the place of, our league stability. So yeah, I think the key for me really for the rest of the season isn't so much Europe. It's getting people like Marco tied down to a new contract. It's finishing the season as best as we can. And improving the squad. I think that's the exciting thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is we've obviously, you've just touched on some of the players that, we'd have to move on. It'd be a good subject to talk about quickly anyway, because there's been a rumor today, well, it's more than a rumor, it's Sky Sports reporting it, that Tom Kearney's of interest to Ipswich. He's now in the last 6 months of his contract, so technically he could sign a pre-contract with them, although I'm not sure he would do that. But
I mean, they're coming. They're only 2 points behind Borough, so they could well be Premier League next year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they're moving up the Championship table and planning ahead. And I mean, can he be a fantastic leader for them? I get it totally. I'd be surprised if anything happens this window with that, but it shows that Kearney's still in demand. I think that his performances over the last couple of games shown that he's still got something to offer. It's going to be with the out contract players, Raul, Kearney. Do you think any of them have done enough now over this period to kind of justify a new contract for next season?
I think Raul, Jimenez definitely. And I know Mark is currently screaming at his screen about kicking a can down the road, but I just think he's done enough to prove that he is still a very good striker at this level. Mm-hmm. So, even if we're sort of chasing the game, we need a goal. He is someone that we can rely on. I think TC, I do see elements of a good player, but I think his legs fail him a little bit. He gets to about the hour mark and he seems to be absolutely gone. He just doesn't seem to get back as quickly as he once could. Not to say that he ever really was that quick at getting back. But I just think for me, I think the relationship with Kearney has kind of run its course, if I'm honest. Mm-hmm. I think when you start looking at, the people that are looking at Kearney to sort of head up their midfield and being Ipswich, is that the sort of level that we want to be at? Probably not. We're looking at, it's been no secret that we're looking at centre mids in the market at the moment. Therefore, if TC was to go on a free and we brought in, I don't know, Sarah from Galatasaray, or I think I can't remember the lad's name, but the last Venezuelan from Inter Miami, the young progressive number 8s. If we do pick up one of these players, I'm probably happy that that TC goes at this point. But again, I think Wilson is a no-brainer. Get him a new contract signed tomorrow. Get him a new contract signed in the next hour. He has just been a phenomenal player. I think he should be a shoe-in. But I think
surely Seth as well.
Seth for sure, yeah.
No-brainer, right?
Seth is a no-brainer. Still young. He's what, 24, 25?
24. Yeah.
Yeah. It's ridiculous how young he is. So I think for me, it's sort of Raul, yes, and TC, no, unfortunately, just because I love that TC has his moments and I love the goal he scored against Palace, but I think his legs are just failing him a little bit.
Do you know what?
Especially in a very demanding part of the pitch as well.
No, for sure. I'm the opposite on that point. So Raul, I think, but look, we're in the market for a striker, right? So Muniz is on the books. We're looking for another number 9 that's going to challenge, and a first team number 9. And Raul's going to be 35 post World Cup, so he's going to be playing football all summer. And he's on 100 grand plus a week. That's too much money. We can't carry a third choice striker on 100 grand a week. He'd have to take a considerable wage cut and be prepared not to be, starting striker every week. And also, this is his World Cup year. This is a big year for Mexico. I think this is almost like the Everest of his career. He's getting to the top now. And this is the last big, World Cup occasion for him in his home country to perform. He might start to decline thereafter. So I wouldn't be I think it would be, perhaps we need to bring in another striker on lower wage, maybe younger, to compete with Muniz and whoever this new striker is that we acquire maybe this window. And with TC, I'm with you in that I don't think I would, if it's at the expense, if he's going to be a squad player, if he's going to be, in the rotation of.
But does he not fit the bill of an expensive squad player? Because I'm sure he's on about 60 to 60 plus. I
think you're right. I think it needs to be on the right money, right? And I think that he must accept that as he gets older. He's only getting 1-year deals now, and the salary is going to come down because he's not being used as much. But I think if he wants to stay and he's happy to, with a reasonable contract, I think he can still be a superstar sub kind of midfielder in the right game state, even at this age. I think he's doing enough to prove that he's still got some magic in those legs. I think that we still need 4 quality midfielders that are going to be in the rotation, and that not including TC. And I don't think there's a role for Harrison Reed there, even he won the goal aside. But I think there's still potentially something that we can do there. Because I just think there's still some magic, and I don't think it's just a vibe signing. I think there is actually a genuine quality that he possesses that could benefit us in certain scenarios, especially if we get Europe.
I would rather invest in a decent winger and move Iwobi centrally permanently.
Oh, yeah.
And that would take either Harrison Reed or TC spots. Possibly the Harrison Reed spot, to be honest.
Yeah, sure.
And I just think that, both of them great servants to the clubs, but I just think, it's run its course. Good things have to end.
Good things have to end, yeah. And on that note,
speaking of good things have to end.
Good things have to end, yeah. We'll close the podcast, but it's been fantastic. We wanted to do a quick show because we just don't beat Chelsea very often, and it feels fantastic to have done the business last night and to be really kicking on the level with them on points. So thanks to everyone who's joined us in the comments today. It's been really, really great just to take on your questions and comments throughout the show. So thank you for joining us. Thank you all for listening. And thanks for, joining us today and listening to us express how delighted we are with last night's result. Skibby, anything you want to add?
No, just thank you all for joining us, and great to be here and talk about a historic 2-1 win at home to Chelsea.
That's right. One team in Fulham. We go again. You would.